And good morning, Southern Arizona. Welcome back to the Marketing Corner. My name is Sean Campbell, and we're getting all the bad words out because our special guest today didn't realize this was a very live show. Very live. And Candace, our glamorous co-host, thank you for being here again.
You're welcome,
you.
as always. I enjoy being here on a Saturday morning.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we got that little detail out, Kristen, before we went live. This is a live show.
Details matter.
Details
They do.
matter.
Absolutely.
Please do not get me in trouble with the FCC.
Yeah,
Is that what
no.
it is, John? Yeah.
Yes.
We don't want that.
No.
I promise.
So, this may be our last show ever, Candace.
Yeehaw.
I'm so honored to be your last guest.
If we're going down, let's do it right, man.
I can say this. If we're joking, but if this was the last show of the Marketing Corner, this first minute already was way more entertaining than the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight was last night.
No kidding.
We've
Oh
already
my
beat
gosh.
that. We've already beat that.
We
That
surpassed
was-
it.
Yeah.
My friend fell down at the bar last night. That was more
Oh.
exciting.
Tyson was in a situation where there's no way he could lose, even though he lost the fight. He's 58. He got in there, and Jake Paul put himself in a situation where it was a no-win situation.
Right.
So what if you would have knocked out Mike Tyson? He's 58.
Right.
Or what if you would have got knocked out?
Oh, you knocked down an old guy.
Yeah. He was but I'm sure he won his pocketbook again.
Well, yeah.
Did very, very well. But yeah, so far we've been way more entertaining than the fight last night. Special guest,
so
Kristen Glasheen.
Yes, absolutely. You said it right.
I asked Candace before you showed up, how do you correctly pronounce her last name? So thank you for being here.
Thanks for having
I
me.
appreciate you taking your time out of a Saturday to be with us. Our first time you and I met was actually a few days ago,
It was.
which always makes the show even more exciting. So I purposely tried not to talk to you too much then and now, so this could be super authentic.
Well, I love
Strategy.
There's
Let's
that word.
go.
Strategy.
I'm excited.
As we were talking just about 5 minutes where you were talking about being very improvisational. Is that the right word?
That's a word.
That's a
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, when it comes to do what you do. Tell us a little bit about your real estate company and what makes you super unique than all the other realtors here in Tucson.
Well, I founded Glasheen Real Estate on the foundation of one thing, and really one thing only, and that's joy.
Mm-hmm.
And, in thinking about your big why and building a business, I think there's a lot of different avenues that we can go down. And for me, I really wanted to step out and provide a very client-focused, authentic experience. And I knew that the basis of all of that had to be on the one thing that gets me up in the morning, and that is creating joy for myself and others, because we need more of it in this world.
Your big why. What is your big why?
Joy.
Yeah.
It is joy.
Yeah.
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 I think in everything that I do, I go above and beyond in what I bring to the table, because I'm always out there looking to feel something, have emotion, and have an experience. So I'm out there creating that. And it goes beyond the making money. It goes beyond,
Right.
building a brand for myself. It really is about my own mental health struggle and how waking up to feel and experience joy isn't always an easy thing.
Right.
And so when it's my big why and I focus on it, it's like when we manifest anything, it's what comes back to me.
Yeah. So the process of buying or selling a house can be absolutely 100% stressful. So I'm enamored by your big why of yours, because it seems like the totally opposite end of the spectrum of what the process is, what you do.
Yeah, it can
You know
be
what I
so
mean?
mundane.
Yeah.
And who wants mundane? We get enough of that and everything that we're consuming, and everything. I don't know. I feel like everything feels like it's in its box, and some brands and companies, they want it that way, and that can be appealing. But when we step out of the box and we allow ourselves to just be really who we are, transparent and vulnerable and authentic, the experience that can be created and shared with others is unmatched.
Are there some brands or companies locally or regionally or whatnot, even solopreneurs like Candace, that you've tried to emulate maybe?
Yeah, there definitely are some brands, and a lot of them are real estate teams, solo agents that I have been able to connect with and grow deep relationships with through the Keller Williams Rainbow Network.
Okay.
So this is the LGBTQ plus Rainbow Network of agents across the globe. And I met them at one of the Keller Williams conferences called Family Reunion. I didn't know they existed. I had been with Keller Williams for almost a year, and as a bi woman married to a man, it just, like I walked across the room, I saw the sign, I was like, are those my people? And I peeked in, I grabbed a seat, and I quickly realized not only are these my people, but these are queer business entrepreneurs who are unafraid and unapologetically out there being themselves and building incredible, authentic businesses and thriving. And I said to myself, being 40 at the time and still pretty much in the closet, I'm doing a disservice to myself because I really have built this authentic business, but I'm not out there being authentically who I am. And be the light. You know, I wanted to be the light for the people in my community and people in the room, especially those that do we're bisexual. And as a bisexual, it's really hard to feel like you're a part of the straight world and feel like you're a part of the gay world. So you exist somewhere in between. And the more I started to talk to people in that room that were bi or pan, however, you know, that works for you, it was a spot that needed to be filled with light, and I was ready and willing to do it. So I stepped out of the closet. I branded myself more in that light than ever, and with comfort and ease, knowing that you truly have to be, it's like, be the light. What am I trying to say? Be yourself so the people that are looking for you can find you.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. With your reputation for supporting your community, first-time home buyers, veterans, right?
Yes.
Is there a specific way that you've tailored your services, or is it just kind of being you, being yourself?
It's just being me and being myself, and the tailoring of the services is knowing that everyone is an individual and it's not a cookie cutter. This is how I do things, and I'm going to overlay my process onto your huge life transition and change. I am going to curate this experience so that it fits you and works for where you are, and that is luxury service for every price point, because luxury isn't a price point, it is a service.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, I was, as you were talking about being the light and being authentic and going out and being all of who you are. That's what I was telling Sean when I was like, I want her on here, because as a real estate agent, like you are all of who you are all of the time, and it's great. How do you deal with those days when you wake up and you look around and you're in a sea of everyone else who kind of is doing the same thing and looking the same way, and you're out here kind of being that rainbow light on your own? How do you get yourself through those moments when you're like, oh, this is weird, I feel awkward, I feel different?
You know, I think in the beginning, maybe I did have moments like that. And now, especially in the environment that we are in, I am done being uncomfortable. And if being me makes you uncomfortable, that's a you problem, not a me problem.
All right.
I was going to ask kind of the same thing. You and I were the same wavelength right there. How long have you been in real estate now?
4 years.
So you're kind of still new in this
I am kind of
industry.
still new. Yeah, I came from healthcare. I was a radiologic technologist, and so I lead with a servant's heart.
Yeah.
And I say that without being really affiliated with any religion. It just is who I am as a person and who I've grown more so to be after experiencing the trauma that life can be. Yeah.
Native Tucsonan too?
No, I grew up in Connecticut, and I moved here from Bozeman, Montana after being there for almost 20 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, do you like the heat down here so far?
Love it. I'm like a lizard. I'm like, I am here for it. The weather is exactly what we moved here for. The indoor, outdoor living experience, the mountains, the national parks, the trails. Tucson really has it all.
Yeah, so that's the first segment of the Marketing Corner. After this messages, we'll be right back. We are back in the Marketing Corner. My name is Sean Campbell, co-host Candace Eaton, and special guest Kristen Glasheen.
Good morning.
Good morning. You were talking about you have an agent referral network.
I do. I have a very large agent-to-agent referral network. It is 65% of my business comes from agents across the globe referring me people that are either moving to Tucson or that they know one way or another that need to sell here in Tucson.
Can we talk a little bit about the secret sauce and how you built up that network, or is that something that you don't want to give to the other realtors?
No, I don't come from a scarcity mindset, and I learned by learning
cool,
from others. So absolutely.
Right. Because I wouldn't give that away. No.
I show up in big rooms. I show up at the conventions, and I authentically connect with other agents from across the globe that are there. I build relationships, and then I nurture those relationships. And I really don't even focus on real estate, right? Because if you get a call and you're like, so how's the market in Tucson? I'm like, I talk about real estate all day, every day. I want the like real phone call. I want the, hey, how's it going? How are you? And the pause to give the long answer, because we also need more of that in the world. So it's being intentional about relationships is really how I've grown that part of my business and my business in general.
65%?
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. What type of trends are you seeing? Where are people moving in from to Tucson? And where are Tucsonans leaving to?
It's a great question. We're seeing a lot of people from Florida. I think a lot of people have met or are at their wits' end with the hurricanes or suffered a total loss and are just ready to move on. So we're seeing a lot from Florida. We see a lot from that Midwestern, like Minnesota, Michigan. And then we've got a lot coming from Salt Lake City. And we always have our Californians that fill that pot as well. So,
Where are Tucsonans flocking away to?
Everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. And a lot of them are relocations, right? Like if you think about it, we have some pretty big sectors here. We've got Raytheon. We've got Banner. The university. We have 3 bases within 75-mile radius of Tucson. That's a lot of in and out. And it doesn't really, like, where they're going is dictated by, we'll add Caterpillar into there as well. A lot of relocations through them. So, and that's like Kansas City, Dallas, New York, Seattle. So now we're looking at more big tech, departures. But I'm working with a relocation right now, and they are going to Pensacola, Florida. So So
in other words, you know your stuff. You know all about what who's coming to town.
Absolutely.
And who's leaving.
I use that to direct my lead generation phone calls. So I don't cold call in my business, right? I call agents from across the globe. Even if I've met you, right? But if I haven't met you, I'm looking at heat maps, pulling up brokerages and just calling and saying, hey, we've got a lot of back and forth. You know an agent in Tucson. I'd love to get to know you, and I'd love to show you why I'm your best option when you do need to know someone in Tucson.
Do you ever have somebody that's maybe on the fence thinking about moving to Tucson, and they're asking you, why should I move here?
Yes.
Do you? Okay.
I do. I actually have a lot of investors that my phone is ringing off the hook now with investors that are super curious about the opportunities here in Tucson, because nationwide, we've got some of the best house prices. And there's a lot of opportunity for regeneration here in Tucson, right? There's a lot of neighborhoods that are getting revamped. And so Tucson is great because we have almost 360 days of sun a year. So you can't beat that indoor-outdoor living. And it gets hot, but for 2-3 months, right? When I lived in Bozeman, Montana, it was cold and dreary for 6 months. So I'll take that 116 days for a couple weeks, which this year it felt like years, but
Yeah.
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 This summer was a long year.
It was, but that's
Yeah.
why you get a pool,
Yeah,
and I can help you.
I think we're kind of on the cusp of becoming almost a big town, because I've been here since '89. We've always been that small town mentality. But last week, our topic of conversation with Bill Netherton was with all the regional and national companies coming in to kind of swoop up, our local businesses, client base. It's another indication of just how much we're growing and how fast we're growing here, I think.
I would
You know?
agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think we left small town in the dust 500,000 people ago. So
Do you really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Well, there's a saying, and I don't know, maybe I made it up. I don't
Mhm.
think so. I always make stuff up.
Mhm.
Words, phrases.
Yeah, yeah.
But like Tucson is the smallest, biggest city.
Yeah.
Have y'all heard that before? Or
The-
did I just
it's the biggest high school hallway on the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
high school hallway? Yeah.
That's an Edmund Marquez phrase
Yeah.
right there.
No,
Yeah.
that's my phrase.
No, you take it from Edmund.
No, I did not. I did not.
One thing that I always preach to every entrepreneur, small business owner, and if you listen to this show, at all, I always tell people our first job, even before you have like a digital presence, is to become 1 degree away from everybody in town.
Yes.
Learn how to shake hands, kiss babies. You've moved a few times. Is it easier for you to get out there and just, meet people on, how comfortable do you feel being uncomfortable in a new networking situation?
That ebbs and flows
Does it?
because I feel like sometimes the older I get, the harder it gets.
Mhm.
When I first moved here, we knew nobody.
Mhm.
And we moved here for all the reasons I kind of stated why others should move here.
Yeah.
And like I said, from Bozeman, Montana, and it was right before COVID.
Mhm.
We had no friends, and I started to venture out onto Facebook to find opportunities to network because
Mhm.
I had, pretty much moved away from my whole network, my whole community.
Right.
So I started to go to these things. There used to be a group called Tucson Brunch Babes. And I remember the first time I was sitting in the parking lot, I cried. And I'm a very social person, but it was like uncomfortable. I was also already really lonely and already
Yeah,
struggling
yeah.
with my own mental health. And the first two were really awkward. I went back a third time because I was desperate for friends. And that's where I met two of my closest friends. Now that I have a built up community and network, easier and easier. But there are
Right,
days
right.
that I wake up and I have something on the schedule and I wonder if I'm going to be able to put the mask on.
Was your intent when you moved from Montana was to become get into real estate?
No,
Wow.
it was all happenstance.
Wow.
I was recruited by an accidental phone call to a wonderful woman by the name of Tracy Jones. May she rest in peace. She passed away a couple months ago with her, lost her battle to cancer. I was on her team for the first 2.5 years. And I had been furloughed from taking x-rays. And I'm not a sit around and kind of wait for things to happen. So I started to sniff around and see what was out there. And through some real estate friends I had in Bozeman, they were like, try to find someone who needs an assistant. I called the number on a Indeed deal and it was her number and it was the wrong number. And
Wow.
she was like, wait, who are you? Can we meet? And we met the next day. I started taking real estate classes that night. I had my license in 7 weeks.
Wow.
And I was
Wow.
like, well, YOLO. And if this doesn't work out, what else am I going to be doing right now? And so I was all in from the get-go. And I had a really good first year. Now that was 2020. And we all know what the real estate market was like that year, and I did luck out and coming in during that time, but it was all about creating momentum and carrying that on to my next 3 years, and that's just where I've been since.
So in tracking like the trends in real estate, I mean, knowing that 2020 was a pretty good year, right?
Yeah.
Did you do any research as far as like preparing yourselves? Okay, this isn't going to last forever.
Yes.
How am I going to prepare for the next couple of years?
Yes. I was very smart with my money from the get-go.
Bam.
So, real estate agents, the success rate in real estate agents, I'm not good at stats because ADHD, but maybe like 20% of us succeed, right? And so that was terrifying. And I like money. I like to pay my bills. And so I also was very aware that the government needed to be paid. So right off the bat, it was like 30% came off the top into a separate account. I paid myself. I gave money back to the business. And from the very get-go, I say we, as my husband and I, were just smart with the money, because we've seen a lot of people get into things like real estate, have a very successful year. They buy the boat, they buy the brand new car, right? And it's just, they YOLO it in the wrong way. And that wasn't where I was going to navigate things
You
from.
realize this last minute of conversation, what you've given people, which is gold. It is. It's a reason why a lot of small business owners, entrepreneurs, real estate agents do not make it.
100%.
You know?
Yeah.
And it's not a bad product or service. It's a lack of money management. You know? I talk about it in my book. I'm going to plug my book just for a second.
Okay.
Let's plug it.
And it's a bad example. It is a bad, I'm going to preface this. When I played No Limit Poker for like 5-6 months, I did really, really well until all my clientele, meaning all the snowbirds I would play against, went on vacation for the holidays. So when I had a great day at the poker tables, I had, kind of a steak and whatever.
Right.
Treated all my friends.
You gave all the money back to the casino.
When I should have had ramen every night and really learned how to manage my.
Right.
I'm not going to say I would have been doing that today still.
Right.
But still, it was a lesson in money management. So when I actually had a legit business, I kept that in the back of my mind, not to just, I got a new client, whatever, let's go out. No, my wins are celebrated, but in a very responsible way these days.
Yeah. I mean, I do that with every commission check. It's exciting to make good money. You've worked really hard for it, but I don't pay myself and give myself the ability to celebrate until the government gets paid, my business gets paid, and my husband gets paid. Yeah. And then I have fun and within reason, because the fun is going to be when I retire at 60 and I'm in Europe sipping on rosé, in the middle of Lake Como.
You can see it already.
Yeah. You have a plan.
Yeah. Okay, we got about 30 seconds to the last segment. We're going to come back with special guest Kristen Glasheen, co-host Candace Eaton of C. Eaton Photography. Do you have any specials going on for the holidays? What you're doing?
I don't right now.
In about 10 seconds?
I don't.
I want you to think about that over the break.
You want me to cook up discounts over the break and launch them right here?
You are listening.
I'll get right on
You
that,
are
Sean.
listening to the Marketing Corner. We'll be right back. I was playing with fire at the end of last segment when I was asking Candace about discounts on her work. I was kidding.
Well, good, because I wasn't going to sit here for 5 minutes and cook up a discount just to make you feel good.
But I wanted to get into that topic of what your brand is, and and give us and teach some of the small business owners, entrepreneurs listening out there why sometimes discounting your product or service is maybe one of the worst things you could do.
You're discounting yourself.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, as a small business owner, I take pictures, I sell pictures, but at the end of the day, I'm selling myself. I'm selling who I am. I'm selling my authenticity. I'm selling the experience that I create. I'm selling the expertise that I have. I'm selling me. Yeah. And if I discount what I do, if I run 30, 40, 50% off for Black Friday, woohoo, I'm discounting me. Yeah. And I deserve better than that. Yeah. Yeah. You also were labeling Kristen here the Madonna of local real estate. I was listening. I know you're listening. I always listen.
And what did I say? What did I say, though?
What did you call me? Huh?
So Madonna, the musical artist.
I love the analogy, too.
Same.
I love the analogy.
Was known in the 80s and 90s for owning... She pretty much owned the record industry, because where other artists were making pennies per album that they sold, she was making dimes, which was orders of magnitude greater than what everyone else was making. And she did it because of her ability to market herself. Yeah. She set herself up as like the head of the industry. And Kristen was telling me a story about one of her clients, and I was like, oh, check you out. You're the Madonna of real estate in Tucson. Look at you.
Yeah, we definitely can't undersell ourselves. And I think as a real estate agent, and especially in a tough market, it is really easy to have the appeal of a real estate agent who is willing to charge less compensation for their work than maybe the agent that's in front of you. So, you know, we don't want to talk numbers. I always like to stay within regulations. But if agent A is charging 10 bananas and agent B is charging 13 bananas, ask yourself what you're going to get for 13 bananas versus the 10 bananas. And the problem is that agents don't know how to go in and talk about their value. They don't have a
Right.
value
It's a value.
proposition.
Right.
And I can go in and tell you why I'm worth 20 bananas. And what you're going to get for 20 bananas and what you're going to feel, the emotion that that 20 bananas is going to bring you. And people go, oh, yeah, right? Because it is. It's the difference between buying your jewelry at Tiffany's or buying it at Walmart. And you made a really good point, Candace, that Tiffany's isn't concerned about Walmart selling jewelry
Right.
because Tiffany knows what Tiffany's brings to the table. And Tiffany's brand has people walking into Tiffany's every day and spending the money on what it is that they want. So,
Right.
yeah,
It's the value.
it is the
Yeah.
value.
By providing that value, and you mentioned that 65% of your, work comes in from referrals, right?
Yes.
Your network. How much of your business comes in from that word of mouth? Someone that you sold or a home to, that they tell their friends, or do you have an idea how much?
Yeah, it's about 15 to 20%.
Yeah. That seems about right. So I mean, that's one of the things we always talk about is, instead of always going to try to find that new client or new customer, take care of that 20% that brings in 80% of your revenue.
Right.
And a lot of that's word of mouth, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's nurturing those clients. Even after you've sold their house, you have
100%,
to
yeah.
knock it out of the park
Yeah.
and
Right.
create the experience during that time frame. And then you have to stay connected to their emotions. And in that is where the sweet spot is.
Yep.
Because if you're not top of mind when they are thinking about or talking about with their sphere of people buying, selling, investing real estate, then it's just going to be the person that did do the work
Right.
to stay top of mind. So
Yeah.
that's where events come in. I make quarterly calls, and it's also intentional. It's not just me saying, oh, I want to stay your friend or be in your life because I want you to do business with me. No, it's a continued experience, because when I call during those quarterly calls, it's, hey, have you had your gutters cleaned? Hey, the first frost is coming. Make sure you're dripping unscrew your hoses,
Yeah.
like get insulation. I'll do drop-bys and bring those kinds of things. And so it is an intentional relationship building process that will continue to feed your business through the long term.
I love that. I still know him, a very successful realtor in town. 100% of his marketing resources and budget goes towards that.
Yeah.
All his past people that he's sold houses to. That's it. He doesn't do anything else. That's all he does, and he's been very successful for a number of years
Yeah.
just doing that.
Once you're in it for a couple years, like for me, once I was in it for 3 years, I started to really get that return business.
Right.
And that's because the majority of people stay in their house for anywhere from 2 to 5 years, right? So, right. And then you have your people that turn around every 10 years.
Okay.
But I think that 2 to 5 years is a really big sweet spot.
I did not realize that. I thought it'd be closer to 10, 12, 15 years.
Yeah.
But it's 2 to 5.
Wow.
Wow.
People trade out houses as quickly as they trade out cars,
Yeah.
huh? Dang.
And a
You're-
lot of that, too, if you think about it,
Yeah, I
ties
never thought
into, I was having a conversation about the longevity of employees at companies. In our parents' days, they had pensions, they were committed, they
Right.
stayed at jobs for 30
Yeah.
years.
Yeah.
That is not how things are in the corporate world in business these days. People are staying at jobs a minimum of 2 to 5 years. So then that
Right.
ties into, well, and a lot of them are moving up a corporate ladder, and usually that is a relocation move.
Right.
Interesting.
That makes sense.
You're also talking about the reasons why a lot of men wanted to date Madonna back in the day.
Yeah.
It wasn't just because she was kind of attractive.
Well, right. There was that. But there was a lot of guys who dated her because they wanted to go to basically the Madonna School of Marketing.
Yeah.
Dennis Rodman talks about it in his autobiography.
Yeah.
I haven't actually read his autobiography, but I did hear a interview with him years ago where he was talking about how it was in his autobiography about how he dated Madonna and why he dated Madonna. And a lot of what it boiled down to was learning how to market himself.
Interesting. Especially with Dennis Rodman. You know, I mean, he was such a colorful personality.
Yeah, he really was.
But what was unusual about that, he was such an introvert too. You
Oh,
know?
yeah.
You know, he didn't play at a big time college or whatever. He played at a very, very small college. And, you know, in the first handful of years at Detroit, you know, he did all the dirty work, right?
Right.
He wasn't a big scorer at all. He was a rebounder, played a lot of defense. But then there came a time where he just started to be a little more him, got out of his shell a little bit. But that's interesting you bring that up about Dennis Rodman. Yeah.
That was just, one of the...
Yeah. I think after
Nuggets.
the Tyson fight and talking about Dennis Rodman, I think I want to do a sports show now too. Yeah, I'm going to buy the hour before the show, talk about sports and business.
Is it going to be a show about overhyped fails?
Overhyped fails? But the marketing of it all, though, I mean, they get paid nonetheless.
Right.
This fight
people
last
made
night,
a lot of money last night.
Oh, yeah. Pocketbooks are full.
Did both of you watch it or just
I
kinda
watched
heard
it.
about
Watched it. No,
tried,
I sat there and watched it.
I fell asleep before the main event. Like, I just...
Did you realize you see all the celebrities that were there?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
at the AT&T Stadium where my miserable Dallas Cowboys play. Yeah, and there's celebs everywhere. The production was, they didn't spare any expense at all.
It was a
And
big
it was
production.
Such a boring, just
it was
miserable
so
fight.
anticlimactic.
Yeah.
I'm so glad because
Yeah.
I tried so hard to stay awake. Like I did the full struggle. And when I was awake to see that he rolled in some tricked out green truck, and I literally said out loud to my husband, I can't wait to watch him get knocked out.
Yeah.
And then I knocked out.
Then
I was
you
like,
knocked out, yeah.
like I was done. So when I woke up to go to bed, and I said, how did it go? And my husband said, wah wah wah.
Yeah.
You didn't miss much.
A couple of quick stats about last night. Jake Paul's shorts that he wore last night cost over $1 million to put
goodness.
together. And Jake Paul has more wins at AT&T Stadium than my Dallas Cowboys do this year. Horrible.
I mean, I don't really follow sports a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
at all. Is he good?
No.
Jake Paul, is he out here
he's
winning
basically
fights?
has lined up people just to, create that hype, create
Oh.
that, he's big. He looks, but he hasn't been in the ring with a legit contender, a boxing contender. He's been in people that are over the hill in MMA, other celebrities, 58-year-old man like we saw last night.
Right.
But has he legit fought somebody in the top 10 in heavyweight division now? No.
Okay.
Not even close.
Okay.
Interesting.
Not even close.
Because I remember him singing "Call Me Maybe" on YouTube at some point years ago, and that's all I can think of when I thought about Mike Tyson and him
Yeah.
fighting is him dancing around his room singing "Call Me Maybe,"
it's
and I'm and now
interesting-
he's gonna fight Mike Tyson.
It's because when they introduced him, here's Jake Paul, this height and weight, or whatever, a YouTube influencer, and blah blah blah, and
Right.
you leverage that following he's had and that popularity
Yeah.
into what he's doing today, which is
Right.
unreal.
I don't like him.
Yeah.
He's a genius.
I was
Yeah,
going to say,
yeah.
He's a
Yeah.
genius.
you got to give
can't-
him credit.
I mean-
Cannot deny it. And for a dummy, he's smart.
You got to
Him
give him
and his
credit for
brother.
leveraging that market, for marketing
Yeah.
himself that
Yeah.
way. He's making a lot of money.
Or
off
maybe
of,
he hired the right team.
Yeah.
He did something right. Kudos,
Yeah.
Jakey.
Yeah, and we're talking about him on my show, which is we got one more segment left in the marketing corner. We'll be right back. We're back in the last segment of the marketing corner. Thank you all for listening in today. And always start the last segment by thanking first and foremost John, our engineer, for making all this possible today. We appreciate you every Saturday. Bill Netherton is a new sponsor, Professional Bartenders. He was a guest last week, and I never hit up guests for sponsorships. But before he left, he's like, I wish I had my own radio show. And I'm like, we can help you make that happen, Bill.
You want to have part of a radio show?
You want part of the radio show at least once a quarter? Come on and do it. So thank you, Bill. I know he's probably listening, so thank you so much, Bill. We really appreciate you. And last week's show was tremendous. David Bradley, Medicare A to Z. Candace, of course, from C. Eaton Photography. Jamar Jordan, Tax Specialist. Roger LaFay Processing. Danny McPadden, the best videographer in town. Last Bridge Media. Trevez Brown, Reflections Pool Service. He will be in studio in January sometime. Really cool dude. Talk about a word of mouth. He almost doubled his pool service business in a year.
Oh, wow.
We're from almost 50 homes to almost 100.
Cool.
Just because he's a cool dude.
Right on.
Yeah. Mark Weiss, Sales Performance Strategies. Next week's guest is going to be Danny McPadden. We may have another special guest also, but I want to talk to Danny specifically about video marketing and how to tell a story through video.
That's
So,
important.
Yeah.
It's a skill
Absolutely.
Yeah.
that everyone, if you're
Yeah.
using video for your marketing, you need to learn how to do the
Yeah.
storytelling part.
Yeah, and how he learned how to do the storytelling. I'm going to give a little preview for next week. He was in the military, stationed in the Middle East, so he helped put together American propaganda videos that they would show in the Middle East.
Well,
Yeah, so he
That's-
kind of knows a little bit.
that's storytelling.
Yeah.
From the best of them, I guess.
Yeah, and he's it's fascinating watching him do a shoot because he's just in his zone and he just has his whole script and preview up in his mind. He's
Oh, yeah.
really cool guy too, really cool guy, and also a new sponsor as of yesterday, Mo Russo. You
Oh.
know Mo.
Yeah, I know Mo.
Yeah. So I was asking him. He's like, "How do you want to be introduced, Mo?" He's a business consultant. So let me take a deep breath here. Founder and chief mad scientist of the Leadership Lab, specializing in business transformation. We got to get that a little bit shorter.
Yeah. That's a tag paragraph.
Yeah, he's gonna come. He's gonna come in January as well, and we're gonna talk a little bit about AI and how he's kind of transformed himself and his business utilizing AI and the stuff that little tricks and trade secrets that he's used to do this. It's
Cool.
totally fascinating what he's created using AI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's it. That's going to be next week, Danny McPadden. And thanks to all the sponsors. So we were talking about, unfortunately, we're talking about Jake Paul.
Unfortunately.
Yeah.
And his marketing genius.
Yeah, and I know we're kind of going a little bit off script here, but tonight there's going to be like some legit fights with the UFC, right?
Okay.
The UFC is another marketing behemoth out there,
Yes.
right? And two of the best fighters in the heavyweight division of all time, John Jones and Stipe, they're going to be going at it tonight. But in something that was, 20 years ago was like, seen as maybe a little, almost too vicious, becomes such a part of mainstream. And the reason
Right.
why I got into it, because during COVID, it was the only gig in town. All the other sports
Oh,
shut down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So when thinking about how they thought outside the box, I'm relating the UFC to you, Kristen. You have thought so much outside the box from your move from Montana into healthcare over to this town. And I say this very respectfully, but how many real estate agents are here and you're thriving? Hats off to you. Hats off to you.
Thank
That
you.
is amazing.
Yeah.
It really is amazing because you have all the competition. And I know a lot of real estate agents, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you do have such a unique vision and a unique why. And you could tell as soon as you walk into a room that you live it. You actually live it. So, yeah, hats off to you.
You're going to make me cry on live
No, I'm
radio.
I'm not trying to, but
Thank
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
Thank
no.
you so much.
But thank you for being on here and sharing your story and giving inspiration, not just to maybe a realtor out there, but someone in a small business that can realize they could be themselves.
You can
Right.
100% be yourself.
Yeah.
People want that now.
Right.
more than ever. And
Right.
they may not even be able to cognitively realize that. We talked about that a little bit before
Right.
the show, but
Right.
people are looking for something to create an emotion inside of them.
Right.
Because the world's a tough place.
Right.
Everyone's
Right.
out here struggling.
Right.
I'm struggling, you
Yeah.
know, and that's the thing too, is like, I'm not a smoke and mirrors. Like, I'm not just like, it's all joy and rainbow and kittens and
Yeah.
puppies. But I am intentional
Yeah.
about it
Yeah.
being that way. And I'm open about the days that it's not. And when we're real and we're vulnerable and we're transparent, we can create a community that we actually want to live and be in.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes above and beyond business.
Yeah. And in your business, it's okay to struggle.
It's 100%
It's
okay to
fine.
struggle.
You know,
Right.
that's part of the process.
Yeah. And when
know?
you admit it,
Yeah.
it's amazing how many people in an industry will surround you and say,
Right.
let me show you, let me help you, let me hold your hand. And yeah, are there going to be the haters out there eating the hater or drinking the haterade? Absolutely. But those aren't your
Right.
people.
Right. Right. You talked a little bit about, you know, the state of your mental health, about sitting in the parking lot and just kind of stressing out before you walked into a brand new networking group.
Yeah.
And thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
What is some of a question for both of you? Because Candace and I have talked about this topic before, right? Mental health and, you know, how important it is. We featured mental health on one of our hot seats.
Right.
And it was probably one of the best hot seats we've had
It
so
was.
far. And is there anything specific that works for Kristen that you, when you know that you're a little bit off, you know, is there anything specific you do, or is it just kind of?
Yeah, there are specific things that I do. One is I am regimented in me time. And I'm not a morning person, but when I make myself get up at a specific time, 6 a.m. every morning, right? By 6 a.m., I have to be up. Sometimes, a lot of times I'll do 4:30 and I'm on this call that starts on the East Coast. But then after that, I have at least 2 hours in my morning that are about me.
Yeah.
I'm not actively really on my phone. I'm not at my desk. It's me, my husband, my dogs, the sunrise, the back patio.
Nice.
Because once my day starts at like 7:30, forward 8 o'clock, I may not get that time to myself.
Right.
And without that, I begin to resent my job, how much I give.
Right.
So it's gotta be you first.
Yeah.
And it is one of those cliche sayings that if like you're not, you know, giving
Yeah.
to yourself,
Yeah.
you can't give to
Yeah.
others. But
Right.
that's a sweet spot for me. And secondarily, it's sleep.
Oh, gosh,
If
yes.
I'm not getting at least
Yeah.
7 hours of sleep every night, and I don't. So if that catches up to me, then it's like we were talking about tomorrow. Like I've had
Yeah.
a week of just constant. I had an event last week, picked up a multi-million-dollar listing, got it live in 7 days, open houses, brokers opens, and tomorrow is the day that I can exhale and relax, and I am
Right.
going to be lazy so that I am not carried on. That
Yeah.
energy doesn't carry on into the next week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot like Meredith Martyr, who
Yes.
you brought in.
Yeah.
You know, she's very intentional that she doesn't do anything till 11, I think.
11 a.m.
Yeah. Because she knows in the morning that she's just not Meredith. She's
Right.
just like, so, and she's in a position where she could start her day at 11
Yeah.
and be as productive as anybody else, you know.
But like she said,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
if she starts at 11 a.m., but sometimes she's also working at 11 p.m.
Right.
Yeah.
because she goes to bed late and then
Right.
gets
Yeah.
up later, and
Yeah.
you know, and that's how she defines success for herself is
Right.
is that, you know, she doesn't have to punch that clock and get up
Right.
before the sun comes up,
Yes.
because that's not how she likes to do it.
Yeah.
You know, I wake up at 4 o'clock whether I want to or not.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
like I may as well get up and use that time, like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
me time, meditation, journaling,
Yep.
Right.
sit and have a cup of coffee and
Yeah.
kind of ease my way into the day and take some time for myself before I get started on the business and the work stuff. So you know, it's different for all of us, but as long as you're creating something that works for you.
Yeah.
That part.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, there's so many books about business and self-help and, you know, and one of them that comes to mind is like Miracle Morning, right? And it's all about get up, do your thing, like, kill it in the morning so that you could have your afternoon. And I just want to make a note that we are all very different people
Right,
out there.
right.
And those things work for some and they're not going to work for other, because there are neurodivergent people out there who have to find the way that works for them. And don't be afraid. If it feels good, do it. If it doesn't, don't. When you are running a business, the only person that knows who put in enough work and enough effort is you. And if you can look at yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I did my best, then feel good about it.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
you don't, then wake up tomorrow and do better.
Yeah. Last question is, we got one more minute left in the marketing corner. What's your big goal for 2025?
My big goal for 2025 is to become a military relocation specialist.
Oh, wow.
So that I can help more veterans in our community.
Awesome.
And paralleled with that, I would like to do more work with Arizona Healing Veterans within our community and I would like to raise this year at least $2,000 to give back to veterans in my community.
Awesome.
right.
Real quick, what's a way someone to get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you, Kristen?
You can get a hold of me by finding me at 520-345-9360 on Instagram, Kristen Sells Tucson, Kristen Glasheen on Facebook. And if you have any questions, I'm always here to help.
Thank you so much for being in the studio with us today. Candace, thank you again as always.
Oh, yeah.
You'll be back in a few weeks, right?
At least.
All right.
Oh,
All right.
and then you're leaving me here by myself on the 28th.
Don't tell anybody. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you.
Bye.